Hello everybody, thanks for tuning in with me today. This is going to be the first episode and I hope a series of, I guess you could call this a podcast. I mean, it's the closest thing I can think of anyway. And this is something that I'm going to call I Like Your Style. Now see, back in the early days of game development, and it still happens today on rare occasions, a lot of games didn't have credit scrolls, which is too bad because if a game had a really good soundtrack, someone like me would like to know who the composer was. So, this is going to be like a series on how I personally and how you might be able to identify musical styles of these composers. Now, this is mainly going to cover NES games and NES composers, but I will be branching out into other consoles like the TurboGrafx-16 and Super Nintendo, as you'll see in this episode. So I thought we'll start with Michiharu Hasuya. So Michiharu, his name probably doesn't ring a bell, but the games he worked on should. So he did Solomon's Key, Rygar, Golgo 13, Kid Cool, and then he did a lot of games for Advanced Communication, which is mainly what I'm going to cover, because most of Vic Tokai games have either been confirmed by sources that he wrote the music for them, or he actually is credited in game. So of course, some of these games have credits and others don't. So we're going to start out with the game that doesn't, which is kind of why I'm making this series. We're going to start with Circus Caper. So I'm going to play the level 3 music. So bear with me here. Alright, so I'm going to play the level 3 music. But before I do, so this game, Circus Caper, is a localization of the Japanese game for the Famicom, Moeru Onisan. Now, it does share a lot of the music from the Famicom version, which was written by Osamu Kasai and Masaaki Harada. Now, I will cover these two composers in a later episode. But when it was localized to North America, some of the music was changed, like mainly the stage themes and the cutscenes, as well as the title music, and this one also adds an ending song as well. So we're going to listen to we'll listen to this song and we'll compare it to something else that Michiharu was credited in. But before we do, before he shut down his Facebook page, I did ask Michiharu about this game. He said he couldn't remember it. But as this video will show, I can tell you how I got Hasuya, in fact, as the composer of this game. Of the localization anyway. So let's take a listen without any further ado. Here we go. Okay, so a little bit repetitive, which was typical of Hasuya's style, which is understandable because he wrote the music in pure assembly language. No MIDI files, no music macro language, pure assembly. So writing a bunch of hexadecimal notation, which is pretty tough at the time. So now we're going to look at another game, Last Armageddon, which features music by him, Osamu Kasai, Masaaki Harada, and one of 2 games to credit Hiroyasu Nishiyama. But before we do that, though, actually, let's take a look at the game that he did the music for, called Kid Cool, and he did this one all by himself. So, okay, so let's find the track here. Alright, let's take a look at this boss theme here, and just see if we can notice any similarities. So already we could find a couple instances here that are similar with the last song we just heard. For example, we have the bass kind of doing that swing, kind of like the quarter note triplet with an eighth note triplet. And where that eighth note triplet is always playing the same thing. But more than that, another thing too is you'll notice that Hasuya mostly only uses the 2 square channels. So for those who aren't familiar, the NES has 5 sound channels. It's more like 4, but there's an extra audio channel for digitized sound. So there's 2 square waves, each with 4 different possible pulse widths. There's a triangle channel, which is mostly used for basses, and the noise channel for percussion. And Michiharu usually, not always, but most of the time, he would only use 2 of the sound channels. Now this is a good idea. That way, sound effects couldn't really intrude the music. Because sometimes, like a song will be playing in a game, and the notes playing will stop when the sound effect plays. So there's that. Okay, so let's see if we can find anything else here. Because there is a TurboGrafx 16 game I want to cover as well. But I'm just trying to think here. Trying to think what game. Because we'll go back to Circus Caper then. We'll probably figure out something then. Okay. So let me find a track here. Well, actually, really quick, let's do the first stage theme. Hopefully that's not too loud or too quiet. Now, as you can see, he's doing the same thing with the 2 sound channels again. So already we can pretty much conclude that this was written by the same guy who did the previous stage theme from this game that we were listening to. So there's that. Let's see. Also, the 5th stage theme, or the stage 5 music, is also very identical to the first stage theme, which in turn is similar to the 3rd stage, or yeah, 3rd one. Let's take a listen really quick. So yeah, pretty similar sound here. Another thing is sometimes for the faster paced music, Hasuya normally writes at about approximately 128 beats per minute. This is evident in both the title and ending music. Then he did the same for Golgo 13. So, just trying to see if I could find anything else that sounds similar. Ah, yes, this one. This is the second cutscene theme when Mr. Magic takes Judy away. So let's take a listen to this one. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that is the see, bad my headphones are plugged in. I could play my piano, but da 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 da. That part right there. That's, I believe, the Hungarian minor scale. There. Now, where have I heard that before? Well, believe it or not, this is something that's evident in a lot of Michiharu Hasuya's work. So let me find an example here. Well, there's one game that was both in Rygar and this other game that you may know about. Let's take a quick listen. Once I get the file loaded up here. Here we go. Now this isn't the part I'm referring to. It's this next part coming up here in a few seconds. Take a listen. Oh, you hear that? The same note. It's pretty coincidental. Now, it should be mentioned that before Michiharu closed his Facebook account, he did in fact confirm, in fact, I think he still has a message up on Twitter about composing the music to Rygar. So he definitely would have written the music for Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, because not only do they use the same sound engine, but Hasuya has credits for both game companies. Now, it's not clear whether Hasuya was an in-house composer for Advanced Communication, the developer of these games I'm covering, or if he was just a freelancer, because with Vic Tokai, he was a freelancer, so he didn't actually work for the company, they hired him. So there's another thing right there. Isn't that kind of interesting? And once again, we're only hearing the two square channels, no triangle channel, which is interesting. Now, some of the songs in Circus Caper, as I mentioned before, do use the triangle channel, but Michiharu did do this in some of his games, so oh, that's normal. I'm trying to think of something that would sound similar to the title and ending music for Circus Caper, because that's... It's just hard to compare it to stuff, though, because, you know, it's got a circus theme to it, so... which is not something Hasuya normally did, of course. But as you've heard, we've heard some of his elements in the music. The Stage 2 music. Let me get that out for a minute. Pay attention to the bass line, mostly, with this one. Alright, so there you go. Now let's check out, I think I got the right game loaded up here. I gotta... Ah, okay. Wrong game. I thought it was in Rygar, which it might be. I'm not 100% familiar with that game's soundtrack. But let's take a look at Golgo 13. Let's listen to the Aqua bass music. Okay, so that bass line after the intro sounds a lot like the one in Circus Caper Stage 2. It kind of scales up the minor 7th scale. So, I'd say we got a pretty good match there, as well as the style. Kind of has a bit of that Latin kind of feel to it. So, there's that to think about. Just trying to see if there's any more songs here that match it. But I think that's about it for that. So let's move on to a little bit of the TurboGrafx 16 territory, because there's a song that, or there's a game that, while it does have credits, it's the only one Advanced Communication developed where all the developers use aliases. So presumably this was a request by Hudson Soft, but I could be wrong, of course. Let's take a look at Keith Courage and Alpha Zones. Now, we're going to listen to the title music, and tell me if this doesn't sound kind of familiar. Cover your ears, it might be a little loud. Here we go. You ready? Alright, don't say I didn't warn you. Wow. Now, I can already think of 2 different songs that credit Hasuya that he did for Big Tokai that sound a lot like that one. Well, first off, there's Clash at Demon Head's title music. Let's take a quick listen to that. Still not convinced? Let's listen to one that sounds just a little more like that song we just heard on the TurboGrafx 16. Alright. I'd say that sounds pretty freaking close. Do you not think so? Let's take a look at Town 2. But before we do, I should mention the credits in this game for Keith Courage. Now, they can only be seen in the Japanese version. And the sound credits just list the following names: Sound Monitor 1, Sound Monitor 2, and Effector. which presumably is whoever did the sound effects. So those are pretty undecipherable aliases. But that's okay, because I know how to... We can at least conclude that Hasuya is the musician, but let's take a look at the Town 2 music. Now this one is a pretty lengthy one, so just get comfortable with this. Alright. Also listen to the bass line. It actually has that same sound, kind of like in Circus Caper Stage 2. It's kind of got like that minor scale. It's kind of scaling up and down it a little bit. Not exactly the same, of course, but just a bit similar. So now we're going to go to an RPG that Hasuya worked on. One of the last NES games he did too, I believe, if not the last. This is called The Last Armageddon, which was a port of the computer versions. However, the Famicom version features 100% original music by Hasuya, Osamu Kasai, Masaaki Harada, the other two in-house composer at the company, and one of two credits by Hiroyasu Nishiyama. However, this game wasn't released until, I believe, 1991. So, Keith Courage, 1990. Keith Courage, I think, was either 88 or 89. Let me check here. Yeah, 1988. So, Nishiyama most likely wasn't a composer for the company then. And the styles, too, that I'm showing in this video do not match Osamu Kasai or Masaaki Harada. And again, I will cover them in a later episode to prove that. But, let's take a look at So, like, once again, this is a pretty lengthy song, even longer than the last, so just warning you to get comfortable. Alright, here we go. Alright, so as you can see, that at least the lead part is very similar to what we hear in the Keith Courage, the Town 2 theme. The Town 1 theme, in case anyone's wondering, again, I believe that is a Kasai Harada song. Again, we'll get to that later. Let's see, any other songs? There's also another thing I forgot to mention about Hasuya's style, is that, at least in the earlier games, he does it in Last Armageddon as well, but he'll play something at a lower volume to simulate an echo. So, let's go back to combat for a minute. Let's isolate the title track. So, let's see here. Alright, so I'm going to isolate the first track here. Just pay attention to when you hear the echo. Here we go. Okay, and he does the same exact thing in Clash at Demon Head as well. Like I said, this is one of the most identifiable things about his style. And it seems only Kasai and Harada only used this feature when they were doing jingles. So I don't really think they had anything to do with these songs. Clash of Demon Head, the Japanese version credits Hasuya for the music, so that's a confirmed title. So let's go back to, I'm going to go back to Last Armageddon and see if I hear anything else. Let's see if we can hear those echoes. Because I don't know if they were using that last song we just heard. But let me find a track here. Still looking. Sorry. Just thought it would sound weird me doing a lot of these weird songs. This is track 25. I need to remember that. That's another one I want to bring up. I just thought it would sound weird if I did oh, I know a song. Well, listen to this one. But anyways, I just thought it would be awkward if you kept hearing me like cycle through the song. So listen to this one a little bit. See if you hear the echoes again. Alright. So that, I'm going to stop it there. You might say, okay, but that one uses different instruments. It's not just using the square waves. Well, I'm glad you brought that up. If you actually did. Probably not. But let's listen to this one, which I think is an unused track, or I don't remember hearing it in the game, but let's check it out. Yeah, that sounds more like it. Let's go back to track 25, though. Listen to this one. It's kind of like a little jingle or sting thing. Almost sounds like something you'd hear in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And yeah, I know I pronounce it Dr. Jekyll because that's the correct pronunciation, as well as that's how the Japanese version is pronounced, so yeah. Let's see. Well, let's listen to the song when Dr. Jekyll turns into Mr. Hyde. See if this sounds a little familiar. Alright. Interesting. Even the song when Mr. Hyde is turning back into Dr. Jekyll kind of sounds similar. Here we go. This one. Listen to this. That sounds pretty close, and I believe this one is unused. So, kind of weird. Yeah. Alright. I'm trying to think of any other games. Because even for games with credits, sometimes they'll be listed with other composers, so the trick is finding out which ones that each composer did. And for Last Armageddon, it's pretty tricky, but a lot of them have that Hasuya sound. Let's take a look at a few of them before I end this. Might do a second episode on this, you never know. I mean, this second track here, again, I don't think this is used in the game either. It's actually a lot of unused songs, or what I think are unused songs, because I didn't hear them on my playthrough. But listen to this one. See if it sounds see if you can kind of pick up the style. Now wait a minute. That sounds vaguely familiar. Like I've heard a song not exactly like it, but pretty close to it. And I think we visited this game a little earlier. But let's see if it sounds, or again, see if you can spot the similarities. Interesting. That sounds very similar, and as you'll notice, Hasuya does a lot of those like octave effects. He does that in Rygar too. Let me see if I can find an example. Like he does it with the bass line more so than the melody, but the lead part. But let's listen to this one. So you'll notice too that Michiharu Hasuya uses those like little echoes, a 16th note before the next note, just like in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So, and in case my mic was muted, that part that plays during the end almost sounds like it's also giving me Circus Caper vibes too. But let's listen to that part that plays at the very end, because that also sounds familiar. Sounds similar to that track 25 song we're listening to from Last Armageddon, don't you think? What's coming up here? So. Interesting, right? Alright. So, I'll just listen to the rest of Rygar, but so with the research we have done, we can so far conclude Hasuya worked on Keith Courage, and he did Circus Caper, and he most definitely did Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Let's listen to another song from Keith Courage, though. Let's see, well, let's listen to the ending music. Now, this is actually from the anime, Majin Eiyuden Wataru, I think, is the name of it. But, see if you spot something similar that Hasuya does with his NES music. Take a listen. Oops, try that again, sorry. So we'll notice that that he does those little like echo things on the same channel, and as well as that, something I didn't cover too much was I don't think I mentioned is sometimes he, like on the lead part, he kind of scales up a chord, almost like arpeggiates it, except the notes don't hold because it's doing it on one channel. Like that one part where he's going up the A scale. Or in the Town 2 theme where he's, going up that, like some kind of C minor related scale. I don't know the exact notes. So, again, that's pretty good. Let's listen to the Battle Stage 1 music, though. Let's see if we hear anything similar there. Interesting. Now there's another song from Last Armageddon. It's in fact the title music that actually has a very similar sound, except it's in A minor rather than an atonal F. So let's see if I can find it here. Here we go. Got it. Alright, listen to this and see if you hear any similarities. My bad. I thought I was playing the audio here. Sorry. Try it again. So, one thing you'll notice is, he's kind of doing those triplets that kind of go down a bit, but also the melody channel, or the second square wave, I think, or could be the first. But there's that one part that's scaling up and down the chords, kind of like this Battle Stage 1 song we were just listening to. So, again, pretty safe to say it's the same composer. Although it could be a little confusing because the song we just listened to from Last Armageddon is in the 4/4 time signature, while the Battlesuit 1 is like 6/8 or 12/8, however you want to spin that. So that's very interesting, right? Well, let's see if there's anything else I can use as an example before I end this. And hey, I mean, there might be stuff that you notice that I don't even notice, so if that's the case, let me know. Let's go back to, I'm going to go back to Conflict. Here's one with a similar bass line to Stage 2 Circus Caper, just a little similar. Not too similar, but take a listen really quick. Yeah, very similar there. Trying to hear, just try to hear anything that might be similar. There is one more game we can look at though. But before we do, it's another game that Hasuya isn't credited in. But let's take a look at let's listen to this one, and it sounds kind of like the song we were just listening to. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but just listen to some of it. Now you can see he kind of uses that echo too. So he does do it with some of the instruments, not just the square waves that are at just like one volume. Then we got that scaling up and down the chords again. Another thing I forgot to mention, Hasuya mostly only uses the 12.5 and 25% square waves. He rarely, if ever, uses the 50 and 75% square waves. Okay, yeah, sorry, I decided to play the whole track after all because it's such a beautiful song. So we'll take a look at one more game. This was only released in Japan. This is called Cycle Race Roadman. I actually did a review of this eons ago, but let's listen to, again, see if you hear any similarities. Maybe you're picking it up too. So again, it kind of has those echoes like shortly before the next note plays. There's actually a song from Kid Cool I wanted to play too. I forgot all about this one, but this we mentioned the Hungarian Scale earlier, and that's what I wanted to bring up. So let's listen to this one before I forget. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. Now, you pay attention to the bass, how it's just playing in octaves. Well, let's go back to that song in Cycle Race Roadman. Did that last part where it was in the key A, didn't it sound just a little too similar to that song we were listening to from Rygar before? You know, da 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 da. I think that sounds pretty identical. Okay, one more thing. There's also Padleborg, which was a disk system game, presumably by Advanced Communication. There's no credits, but you listen, get that one a quick listen. Okay, that almost sounded exactly like Clash of Demon Head's title music. I don't think I have to go any further from that. But one more game. This one's called Tsurikichi Senpai Blue Marlin Hen, not to be confused with the Blue Marlin for the NES. But listen to this one. Listen to the bass line. Did I not play? Oh my god, was the volume muted? Let's go back to the Padleborg one. Crap, I'm sorry guys. Again, this is unscripted in case you couldn't tell. But listen to this. Listen, it sounds almost exactly just like the Clash of Demon Head title music. Take a listen. Okay, but back to Blue Marlin Hen though. But again, pay attention to this bass line and even the lead melody. It's definitely Hasuya on this one. So you see those like high parts? Alright, so that is where I'm going to end it. There's also a game which Hasuya was credited in with Masaki Harada, Fushigi no Umi no Nadia. But that one mostly consists of public domain pieces. There's also Oishinbo, which I suspect he worked on as well. Maybe we can look at that at a later time. But this is just kind of a test run. And of course, I'm live streaming this whole thing, so I'm going to make mistakes with like not playing the audio when it's supposed to be playing and stuff, so I'm sorry about that. So, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you want to see more stuff like this, just let me know, and I'll, like I said, I already have plans for an episode 2. That one, I actually have, I'm better prepared for that one, trust me. So, anyways, I'll see you guys later. God bless. Hope this helped, and hopefully, you know, if there's a game that you think has Hasuya style, you can recognize it and identify it. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. God bless. And peace out. Have a good one.